She poured the drink slowly, almost ceremoniously, as if every drop carried a secret. "For you, Nathan," she said with that tight-lipped smile she reserved just for me. "You've earned it." Her voice was too sweet, too calculated. I nodded politely, accepted the glass with a smile, and then without hesitation swapped it with the one in front of her husband, Arthur. He didn't notice. He never did. He was too busy scrolling through his stock portfolio. Before we continue, type "watching closely" in the comments if you've ever felt like someone in your own family was rooting against you. My name is Nathan Reed. I'm a 34-year-old wildlife photographer based in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I've trekked through jungles, scaled cliffs for the perfect shot, and sold work to magazines most people dream of. But to my in-laws, especially Gloria, I've always been the one who takes pictures. Arthur, her husband, is an oil executive. He measures worth in spreadsheets and brand names. Me? I measure it in light and shadow. Every family dinner was a subtle battlefield. Gloria would dote on my wife, Morgan, while slyly throwing shade at my career. Arthur would ask about real income, not realizing I cleared 6 figures last year. It was exhausting. Morgan tried to play peacekeeper, squeezing my hand under the table, whispering, "They don't mean it." But I knew better. That's why when I saw Gloria pour something from a clear vial into my drink, I didn't panic. I played along. That night we were gathered for Gloria's birthday. She wanted everything perfect. White tablecloths, imported china, catered courses. Morgan insisted we show up. Even though I'd just come back from filming in Patagonia, my gear was still unpacked and my body was jet-lagged. But love makes you do things you wouldn't normally do, like smile at someone who might be trying to poison you. As dessert approached, Gloria brought out her signature sangria, something she claimed only she could make properly. I offered to help serve, and that's when I saw it, 2 distinct glasses at the back of the counter. She glanced over her shoulder and slipped a liquid into one. "This one's yours," she said, handing me the glass. But I didn't drink it. I carried it into the dining room, set it down in front of Arthur, and watched. Arthur took a sip without hesitation. Within minutes, his expression changed. His skin lost color. His forehead glistened with sweat and his hands trembled slightly on the tablecloth. "You okay?" Gloria asked, her voice rising just a fraction above concern. Arthur waved her off, but by the time dessert was served, he was hunched over, excusing himself to the bathroom. The sounds that followed were unmistakable, violent, urgent, and messy. I looked across the table. Gloria's face had drained completely. Our eyes locked, and she knew exactly what I'd done. And more importantly, she knew I knew what she had tried to do. But she said nothing, just dabbed her mouth with a napkin and offered some flimsy excuse about seafood going bad. Morgan rushed to help her dad. I remained seated, silent, calculating. Back home that night, I retrieved the original glass she had meant for me. I had slipped it into my jacket before anyone noticed. I placed it carefully on a shelf in my studio, beside my camera lenses. I wasn't just angry. I was focused. I didn't want revenge in the moment. I wanted truth, proof, precision, the kind of story I could expose frame by frame, just like I did with every photograph I took. The next morning, I reached out to Dr. Caleb Wu, a former client and friend who now worked at a private forensics lab. I told him I needed a substance tested discreetly. "Trouble at home?" he asked. "More like a family experiment," I replied. Within 48 hours, I had the results in hand. Benzodiazepines, strong enough to sedate a grown man. It wasn't lethal, but it wasn't harmless either. I didn't show Morgan the results. Not yet. I needed more than science. I needed context. I began digging. Medical records, prescription refills, whispers from neighbors. Gloria had seen 3 different doctors in 6 months for anxiety. Rumors floated around her social club. Things about stolen items, strange episodes, even a broken engagement in the family no one wanted to talk about. But I wasn't ready to bring it to light. Not until Gloria reached out. Through Morgan, of course. She wanted new headshots for a local campaign she was doing. "She insisted on you," Morgan said. "Isn't that nice?" I smiled. Sure, it was nice. Nice and suspicious. I arrived at their estate with my camera bag in one hand and a sealed envelope in the other. Gloria greeted me at the door, dressed immaculately in designer beige, her pearls resting just above a smile too wide to trust. "Arthur's out playing golf," she said. "We'll have the house to ourselves." I nodded politely and followed her into the sitting room, the one with portraits of Morgan and ballet recitals and Arthur shaking hands with city officials. "Before we start," I said, setting down my gear, "I want to give you something. I handed her the envelope. Inside was the toxicology report, a copy of the prescription overlaps, and a simple note that read, "I saw everything." Her smile faltered for the first time. "What is this supposed to mean?" she whispered, but the trembling in her voice already betrayed her guilt. "You know exactly what it means," I said. "What I don't know is why." Her eyes narrowed. "You're not good enough for my daughter," she spat. "Never have been. You take pictures. You don't build futures." I kept my voice level. "So you tried to drug me. To ruin a dinner. To prove I'm unstable." She didn't answer. Instead, she turned away, pacing. "It was just to make you sick. Miss your little exhibit. I wanted her to see who you really are. Someone unreliable. Someone who doesn't belong." She turned back to me, chin raised like she was proud of what she'd done. "That gallery show you tried to sabotage?" I replied calmly. "It made the front page of 2 art magazines. And Morgan's the one who framed my work for our bedroom wall." Gloria scoffed. "It won't last. It never does. We helped her out of worse relationships. Ask her about Thomas. Or the one before him." I froze. "Tom," she smiled, darkly. "Funny, isn't it? You all think you're the exception. You're just another chapter in a book we keep rewriting." I stood. "Not this time." I packed up my gear without taking a single photo. "You tried to erase me from her life. But I'm not going anywhere. And now, I have proof of what you are." That night, Gloria called Morgan in tears. "He was aggressive," she claimed. "I didn't feel safe. He refused to take my picture. Stormed out." When Morgan asked me what happened, I didn't hide anymore. I laid it all out. The drink, the vial, the toxicology report, the years of quiet sabotage. She didn't want to believe it. I could see that. But the weight of the evidence was too much. The way she stared at the report in her hands like it was a stranger's diary. "My mother wouldn't do this," she said, barely above a whisper. But even she didn't sound convinced. The next day Morgan went to confront them alone. I waited by the window, watching the clock. She came home late, eyes red but dry. "They denied everything," she said. "Dad claims it was an allergic reaction." Mom cried. "Said you manipulated the test. They think you're trying to split the family apart." I nodded. I'd been expecting this. "But what do you think?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just walked to the bedroom and shut the door. The silence between us grew. For 2 weeks we existed like shadows, moving through the same house but never colliding. Then one morning a small package arrived. No return address. Inside was a USB and a note. "You should know the whole truth." I hesitated before plugging it into my laptop. What played out on screen was beyond what I expected. Security footage, from Gloria and Arthur's own kitchen, dated the night of the dinner. There she was, pouring something into a wine glass. The same glass I swapped. There was Arthur, taking the drink meant for me. Minutes later, after we'd all gone home, the camera caught Gloria screaming at Arthur. "You idiot. That was supposed to be for him." Arthur's response chilled me. "This isn't the first time, Gloria. What is wrong with you?" There were more files. Recordings of Gloria and Arthur talking about me, about Morgan. "She won't stay with him long," Gloria said in one. "I've already planted the seeds. She's doubting him. It's only a matter of time." In another, Arthur chuckled. "Just like Thomas. Or Gabriel. They always think love can outrun legacy." I sat back, numb. This wasn't just a controlling mother-in-law. This was a campaign. A history of calculated destruction. Gloria had done this before, and she wasn't planning to stop. I called Vanessa that same night. Her voice shook when she answered. "I hoped you'd never need to see those videos," she whispered. "But after what happened to you, I couldn't let it happen again." I asked why she hadn't told me sooner. Her answer was soft but honest. "Owen wouldn't believe me. He still thinks his parents are just a bit difficult. But I've seen what they do to people who get too close to the truth. I wasn't going to let you be the next casualty." The following day, I got a text from Arthur. "Let's talk. Man to man." We met at his club. Leather chairs, cigar smoke, and all the power games he loved. He poured 2 drinks but didn't touch his. "Families are messy," he began like he was offering some philosophical wisdom. "My wife. She has strong instincts. She just wants what's best." I stared at him. "She drugged me, Arthur." He scoffed. "A misunderstanding. Gloria's meds affect her sometimes. You're blowing this out of proportion." "I have video evidence," I said calmly. "Footage from your own house. You know what she did. You were there. You didn't stop her." His entire posture changed. The easy charm vanished, replaced by a cold, sharp calculation. "What do you want?" he asked, voice dropping. "Money, an apology. You think you'll win Morgan over with this?" I shook my head. "I don't want anything except for you and Gloria to back off. No more games. No more sabotage. You leave us alone." Arthur leaned forward. "You think you're the first? You're not special. Morgan was engaged before you. A surgeon. Smart. Rich. But not the right bloodline. It took us months to break them up. You'll be easier." That was when I knew this was never about me personally. It was about control, about ownership. On the way home, I called Morgan's old roommate, Bethany. She remembered the surgeon. "Thomas was perfect for her," she said, until her parents convinced her he was cheating. They made up text messages, planted earrings in his car. By the time he figured it out, she'd blocked him on everything. I felt sick. It was a pattern, an art form. Gloria and Arthur weren't just overbearing, they were strategic manipulators. I didn't tell Morgan right away. I needed more, so I kept digging. Thomas still had the emails, dozens of them. I reached out to other people from Morgan's past, friends who'd disappeared, men she'd dated, and slowly it all came together. Names, timelines, stories that matched too closely to be coincidence. Vanessa sent me more footage, private conversations, damning confessions. I compiled it all into one place, one master file. Then I invited Owen and Vanessa over for dinner. I didn't tell Morgan what was coming. Not yet. I needed her to see it for herself. After dinner I connected my laptop to the TV. The air shifted. Vanessa took Owen's hand. Morgan looked confused but curious. "There's something important I need you all to see," I said. The room went still as the first video played. Gloria in the kitchen, pouring the contents of a small vial into a drink. Me entering. The switch. Arthur sipping. His sudden illness. Morgan covered her mouth. "Is that the night of the dinner?" I nodded. "It doesn't end there." The next clip played. Gloria yelling at Arthur for drinking the wrong glass. Arthur admitting it wasn't the first time. Morgan's eyes welled with tears. Owen looked like the floor had been ripped out from under him. "That's not real," he muttered. "This has to be edited." But then came Gloria's voice again, sharp and cold on a different recording. "I've already started planting doubts. She'll file for divorce thinking it was her idea." Morgan turned pale. Owen stood up. "Pace, this can't be them." Vanessa was trembling. "They did it to me too, Owen. That's why I sent the footage. I knew they'd do it again." She looked at her husband, searching for belief. "Why do you think they started loving me after I had James?" "Because they had leverage." Owen collapsed onto the couch. I didn't want to believe it. I looked at Morgan. "I didn't tell you sooner because I needed you to see the full picture. Not just what they did to me, but what they've been doing to you." She nodded slowly, tears falling silently. "All this time, I thought they were just trying to help. I thought they loved me." Her voice cracked. "But they were just trying to own me." The next morning, Gloria called Morgan, her voice unusually chipper. "Sweetheart, you should come stay with us for a few days. Clear your head. Marriage can be confusing." Morgan cut her off. "Mom, I've seen the videos." There was silence. Then Gloria's voice dropped, syrupy and fake. "Darling, whatever Julian showed you, it's been twisted. You know how jealous he is of our family. He's trying to come between us." "No more lies," Morgan said. "We're all coming over tonight. Julian, me, Owen, Vanessa. No excuses. We talk. As a family." She hung up. Then she looked at me. "They're going to deny everything. Blame you. Turn it all around." I nodded. "I know. That's why I'm bringing my camera." That evening we walked into Arthur and Gloria's house not as victims but as a united front. I carried my camera gear, set it up in the living room. Arthur raised an eyebrow. "Filming this? What for?" "For the family record," I said calmly. "So no one can rewrite history." For the next 2 hours we laid it bare. The drink, the drugs, the manipulation, the exes, the plans. Every time they denied, I played footage. Every time they lied, I showed documents. At first they yelled, accused me of being unstable, a gold digger, but the evidence was undeniable. Gloria eventually went quiet. Arthur tried to fight, but even he realized the battle was lost. Morgan stood. Her voice didn't shake. "You don't get to control me anymore. I love you, but what you've done is sick, and I'm done." Owen followed. "You've hurt the people I care about. You've crossed every line. We're done letting you define our lives. As we prepared to leave, I handed Arthur a sealed envelope. Everything's in here. Video, emails, statements. I won't release it unless you try anything again. But if you do, this goes public. Country club. Clients. Social media. Your legacy. Arthur's face was blank, but his hands trembled. You think you've won? He asked. No, I said. I didn't play to win. I played to survive. And I'm still here. 6 months later, the silence from Gloria and Arthur wasn't just peaceful, it was deliberate. They kept their distance. No more surprise visits. No veiled comments through Morgan. Just an occasional text on holidays, as if pretending none of it had ever happened. But the damage was done, and the control they once held had withered into irrelevance. Morgan and I started therapy, not to fix what was broken between us, but to process everything that had happened around us. She cried in our first session, admitting she had spent years trying to earn love from people who only valued obedience. I used to think success meant making my parents proud, she said, but now I think it means protecting my peace, our peace. Then came the moment that changed everything. Morgan sat across from me one night, hands trembling. Julian, I'm pregnant. The joy that swept through me was overwhelming, but behind it a wave of resolve. I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was going to be a father, and this time no one would threaten what we were building. Not even family. When we told Gloria and Arthur, their reaction was strangely subdued. No tears. No fake celebrations, just quiet congratulations. A week later, a letter arrived from their lawyer. Inside was the deed to the home we'd been renting, signed over to us with no conditions. A trust fund for the baby, no notes, just paper. I didn't respond, because some messages are louder in silence. The months passed. Morgan's belly grew. We painted the nursery in soft earth tones. I captured every moment with my camera. Her laughter, her cravings, the curve of her hand on her stomach. On the day our daughter was born, I held her against my chest and whispered, "You are loved, free, and no one will ever use you to prove their power." We named her Isla, after Morgan's favorite coastline in Maine. Wild, beautiful, untamed. Gloria and Arthur came to the hospital. They brought gifts but didn't stay long. Gloria asked to hold Isla, but Morgan shook her head. Not today. Arthur accepted it without comment. That boundary was final. Later, a brochure arrived in the mail. Arthur's company annual report. My photos were all over it. Landscapes, portraits, powerful images. No watermark, but a handwritten note was clipped inside. Hired the best. Figured you'd want a copy. I didn't respond. We both understood this wasn't gratitude. It was respect. The quiet kind. The kind that only grows when someone finally sees you as an equal. That spring, my photography studio opened its doors downtown. Friends filled the space. Clients praised the work. My parents flew in. And yes, Gloria and Arthur showed up. They stayed on the edges, nodded politely, didn't offer advice, didn't try to steal the spotlight. For the first time, I believed they were capable of keeping their distance. That night, on the porch with Morgan and Isla asleep inside, I looked up at the stars and finally felt it, not victory but peace. I hadn't won by fighting Arthur and Gloria. I had won by refusing to play their game. I had protected what mattered. I had lived my truth, and that was the most powerful revenge of all. Because when someone tries to poison your future and you rise anyway, they don't just lose power, they lose access to your life. And you? You get to live it on your terms.